Geek to Me Radio, da 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 da. Geek to Me Radio, da 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 da. Welcome, boys and girls, geeks and nerds, to another exciting edition of Geek to Me Radio. Today we are joined by the one and only Burt Ward from the Batman 66 TV series. We'll be talking about his new turn as Robin and his Gentle Giants rescue program, Stand By. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Welcome, St. Louis listeners and all points online. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you very much for listening as well. We are joined today by a legend, none other than the amazing Burt Ward. Burt, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to call into the show and speak with us.
Hello, citizen.
Hello. Now, this has got to be a pretty exciting time. You're already celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Batman TV series this year, and now you're once again, you're back at it. You're playing Robin. You and Adam West and Julie Newmar lent your voices to the Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders on Blu-ray and DVD. What's it like to revisit a role that you've done 50 years ago?
Well, it's really not too hard for me. It's not something you forget. And, of course, with all the personal appearances that I make across the country at Comic-Cons and other big trade shows, you never really lose it. You're always asked questions and always answering questions. And, of course, this brand new movie from Warner Brothers is really spectacular. The reviews have been so incredible that it said it's one of the best Batman features ever made, even better than some of the giant features, that you see in theaters.
I absolutely believe that. We've actually talked before about the DC and their animated stuff they put out. Your movie was released as a special for Fathom Events last month, much like Batman the Killing Joke was. And the animated DC movies are just phenomenal. And to have you and Adam West and, of course, Julie Newmar return to these roles just elevated it that much more.
Well, I'll tell you, and I was given a very good compliment from the vice president of animation at Warner Brothers, who, when I was doing my dialogue on a break, came up to me and said, "Burt, I can't believe it." And I said, "What?" He said, "You sound exactly like you sounded 50 years ago. It's almost scary." That's
definitely a compliment, and you do. I mean, I'm talking to you right now, and for all I know, it's a wibbly wobbly timey wimey bubble, and I'm actually talking to you from 1966. For all I know.
Holy interviews! You see, so it really is the same. It's just when I talk in a regular voice, it's more normal. But I certainly have that Robin voice.
Exactly. I mean, who else would you sound like? Let's be honest. I mean, you're going to sound like you. And if you would like to call in,
people say that to me all the time. They say you sound like yourself. Well, yeah.
I would hope so. And if you'd like to call in right now, if you're listening, if you want to call in, be the first person to call in, just say hi to Burt Ward. And I've actually got a copy of the Blu-ray DVD right here in my hands. I will give it away to the first caller to call in and just say hello to Burt Ward. I noticed on your IMDb page, this current one must have gone well because you've got another one in the queue already. You're doing Batman versus Two-Face, set to be released next year.
Exactly, and there may be more after that. But on this next one, what's really great about that as well is the fact that Two-Face is being played by none other than William Shatner.
Really?
Here you have the most two iconic television shows in history, Star Trek and Batman, and the stars are working together.
And now Two-Face is a villain from the comic books. He never actually showed up on the original TV series. You had False Face, but you never had
Right.
Two-Face. So did you have to go back and read anything about the villain, or have you kept up with comic books at all?
No, I really don't have to do anything. Listen, all you have to do is run around wearing your costume and climb walls and ride the Batmobile, and believe me, it puts you in the right attitude.
I guess that's true. See, I don't do that enough. I need to put on my my tights and ride around the Batmobile more.
Exactly.
Now you actually, last time you came through St. Louis was 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and I actually met you at Wizard World, got to chat with you at length, and William Shatner was at that same Wizard World. So I guess doing the convention circuits and being on the same celebrity pathway, I guess you have bumped into William Shatner, spoken with him before.
Oh, many times we sat there, had lunch together. He's a very funny man, got an amazing sense of humor, very, very razor sharp, intellect, really sharp man, and it's just a pleasure to be around.
And the tour you came through, you did with Adam West as well. But I wish Julie Newmar would pass through St. Louis. I'd love to meet her. It must have been, in a way, bittersweet because you had the three of you come back, but obviously with Frank Gorshin and Burgess Meredith have since passed. How did the new voice actors playing Joker and Penguin and Riddler, how'd they fit in with you guys?
I'll tell you, they are so amazing that if you don't know that they're not the real ones, you'll think that you're hearing Frank Gorshin and Cesar Romero. I mean, I'm not kidding. The laugh, the voice is just, there are some amazing people out there that are just, impersonators that are just so razor sharp. They almost sound better than the original person. And they got great guys. I mean, the script is so wild and crazy and unpredictable. People watching this movie, they're going to be in a shock because they don't realize that this is not just what we did. This is like taking 1966 Batmans and putting it on steroids. I mean, combining some of the stuff in the feature film with state-of-the-art new technology, and then we're out in outer space. I mean, it is wild and crazy. It's going to be a real, e-ticket, so to speak, ride for most people.
Yeah, and it's so much fun because there's obviously the stuff you were limited by in the TV shows, what you could do. But with the animated stuff, you guys could literally go anywhere, do anything. That must be...
And we do. We take it further, and the double meanings and all this crazy stuff that made our show so popular to such a wide range of an audience. I mean, the hero worship is there for the kids, but I'll tell you, the humor is just outrageous for adults. I mean, it's as razor sharp as you want it to be.
And it's one of the great things about the 60s series was it was colorful and campy, and the kids loved it. But you guys did have those little subtle jokes that were actually there for the adults, and that was one of the great things about the original series too.
Yes, plus nobody ever really got hurt. You had these tremendous fight scenes and tables being broken and chairs over your head and all this incredible stuff, tortured in some heinous way every week, managing to survive. But nobody ever died. Even with the fight scenes, you knock them down, go through walls and stuff like that, and they get up and keep fighting. So it was something that was really wholesome for every age. Every person from the youngest kids to the oldest adults could enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah, and it's great that we, in the animated form, we have that back again, because there's a lot of shows nowadays. Obviously, times have changed, things are different, but it's really nice to, I think it's one of the nostalgic goodness things you've got going is, they just released the entire series on Blu-ray and DVD, so you can go back and watch these again, but it not only takes you back to, I don't want to say a simpler time, but it's certainly different from a
kinder, gentler, less mean time.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And yet, the humor here is hilarious. I mean, the writers on this movie, they made fun not just of our show in some ways, but they made fun of the new movies. There's so much in there for somebody that really looks they're going to get a real treat.
Yeah, and again, if I've got the copy of it here in my hand. I myself haven't watched it yet. I'm sorry to say. I bought it, and I was going to watch it last night. I fell asleep early, but I've got another copy here, brand new Blu-ray, DVD plus digital HD copy. The toll-free numbers. We will pick up the tab if you want to call in 855-770-1260 if you're a little shy and you don't want to go on air. My wonderful producer, Joey, will pick up the phone, just say, hey, I don't want to go on air. Joey will take your name, and we'll pull a name out of the hat. Whoever gets their name drawn will win a copy of this. We're going to go to a quick break to pay some bills. We'll be right back with more with Burt Ward right after this. Stand by. We are back on Geek To Me Radio, and I would like to just give a shout out to one of our show sponsors, stcharles.com, historic stcharles.com. The city of St. Charles does some fantastic things. They've got some great shopping, some unique dining, all sorts of things to see and do. It's family friendly. If you were just out there for their Legends and Lanterns event this past Halloween, that was fantastic. They're going to do it again. Christmas traditions coming up here on Black Friday. It's always part of your Christmas experience to head out there, take a step back in time, enjoy the cobblestone streets, the freshly made kettle corn, grandma's cookies, of course, get a picture taken at the old tin typery, interact with all the historical characters. And this particular weekend, they have the St. Louis Pet Expo going on down there at the St. Charles Convention Center. You want to go check that out? Bring your four-legged friends. They've got all sorts of things to see and do recurring all weekend long, today and tomorrow. You can check that out. Get event updates. Get things to do, all at historicstcharles.com. Very, very proud to have them as the official sponsor of Geek To Me Radio. Very proud that our next guest is with us as well. We've got Burt Ward still on the phone with us. I was thinking back to the last time we spoke, and it was the interview I did with you back in 2014. Obviously, this was before the new Batman versus Superman movie came out. And I asked you at the time, I said, do you have anyone in mind now they've got Ben Affleck to play Batman? Anyone who you would like to see as Robin? And Burt, your answer was, you'd like to do it again. And here we are now talking about this 2.5 years later, and you are playing Robin again.
Exactly. And who knows, from this, there might be another live action. You never know.
That would be awesome to see you guys back in the capes and the cowls. That'd be fantastic.
It would be a lot of fun, a real romp.
So I know this must be like asking me to pick your favorite child, but when you think back over the episodes that you did, do you have a particular favorite that stands out to you?
I get asked that all the time, but in reality, I love working with all those great stars. I mean, every week, I was lucky enough to work with people that I had grown up watching on television or in movie theaters. And for me, I was like a kid in a candy store. Every week, I was working with somebody fantastic. So I really didn't have any individual one, but almost all of the shows I had a fantastic time. I mean, there were some really great actors. I mean, one of them coming to mind was Vincent Price.
Yes.
Who, as a kid, I had watched his movies, was so scared of when he first walked onto the set, and I had a momentary remembrance of a little fear from watching his scary movies. But he was terrific to work with, a lot of fun, and every one of these people, everyone, Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, all these people, fantastic actors and actresses, and they just did a great job in the character.
Yeah, and the legends that you had on that show, you mentioned Vincent Price, who's a St. Louis native, but he played Egghead. You had Roddy McDowell on the show.
Yeah, he was the bookworm.
That's right. What a fantastic, job you had to work with all these Hollywood legends, week after week.
It was fun and really educational. I had a great time.
It looked like you guys did. It looked like you were having fun every week. We actually have a caller who was going to, I guess, call in to say hi to Burt Ward. Go ahead, call our line one. Go ahead.
Hey, Burt Ward, how are you?
Fine, citizen. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Honestly, it's a real honor to be talking to you.
Well, thank you very much. Adam and I, we love doing Batman, and with our new movie, I think you're going to get a real kick out of it. It's not what you're expecting. It's a lot juicier and exciting than most people would believe.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. That was one thing I was going to mention, or going to say, that I really actually have a tremendous amount of respect for both you and Adam, because I know from the 66 show onward, you two have just obviously embraced those characters and have embraced the fandom since that point. And I think that's such a really cool and awesome thing. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and that I really respect you guys for that, because it really is awesome for the fan community there.
Well, thank you. Batman is it's like evergreen. Our series is still in reruns. In fact, the entire series came out in Blu-ray and DVD about I guess a year and a half ago, and everybody has a great time, and it's something for everybody. Batman was a lot of fun to make. It was a very dangerous show because there were so many explosions and stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun, and we used to say that we put on our tights to put on the world.
That's perfect. And sir, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sir. Caller.
Oh yes, I'm Mike Schmidt. I've chatted with the Geek To Me Radio as Mikey Flash.
Oh yes, Mike. Okay, we're gonna put you on hold, and Joey V, my producer, is gonna get your information, and we're gonna send you that Blu-ray copy of Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders for you to watch and enjoy at your leisure.
Wow, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you very much for calling in. I'll plug you on hold, and Joey will take down your info. All right, and like you said, Bert, it wasn't even like going to work. You put on your tights and you went out there and you had fun.
Well, for most of the time, but there were some very dangerous stunts on Batman, and they had a policy on Batman. If even though I had a stuntman, if there was ever anything really dangerous, always be sure and use Burt.
And I saw it's up on YouTube. You can, if you're listening, if you want to go to YouTube and type this in, Burt Ward audition, and it's got the audition you did to get on the show, and you were doing a lot of the rolling and the forward throws, and you had your person come in with you to demonstrate some of your judo moves. So you were actually, I think, weren't you a black belt before the show ever started?
Yes, that's true. I even broke a board with my hand. And now back in 1965, when I was doing that screen test, believe me, martial arts was not a big thing in the United States. It was relatively new. Mm-hmm. So it was something that the producers were surprised to see, and it was very helpful in me doing the role, because I enjoyed all the athletics and I enjoyed the fight scenes the most.
And you got to, speaking of fight scenes and martial arts, you ended up getting to work opposite of Bruce Lee as Kato when the Green Hornet came on.
That's true. In fact, a piece of trivia is that Bruce Lee's first filmed fight scene of his career was fighting me.
Really? That is cool.
And actually, more than that, he and I lived in the same complex of condominiums, and we used to spar together. And we also would go down into Chinatown. His wife, Linda, and at that time, Brandon, his child, was only 6 months old, and we'd go down into Chinatown, and because he had lived in Hong Kong for so many years, he knew all the right stuff to order, and we had a great time. I mean, he was a really incredible martial artist. He trained 8 hours a day. There was nothing fake about what he did. He was just amazing.
That is so cool. Just the stories. I could probably sit here, and you mentioned we'd only have you for 4 hours. I could probably talk to you this entire time. We just had a caller who called in. I think we lost him. So caller, give us a call back. And if anyone else out there wants to talk to Burt Ward, 855-770-1260. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Burt's rescue organization from Cape Crusader to Canine Crusader with Gentle Giants Rescue. We'll be right back with more on Geek To Me Radio.
Hey, this is Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley from Star Wars, and it's all Geek to Me, my friends.
Welcome back to Geek to Me Radio. I want to remind you, listeners, tonight, starting at 7 p.m. down at the Schlafly Bottle Works in Maplewood, the Capes and Tapes event is going on. This is sponsored by Schlafly Bottle Works, as well as Planet Score Records and Subculture Comics. It's going to be a geek garage sale, in essence. It's at the Schlafly Bottle Works at 2345 Southwest Avenue in Maplewood from 7 o'clock till 11:30 tonight. A lot of people, myself included, will be down there selling some stuff where they're going to be people selling records, people selling CDs, tapes, music, comic books, games, board games, video games, you name it. They'll have it down at the Capes and Tapes event, so make sure to check that out tonight, 7 o'clock till 11:30. Very excited to be part of the Capes and Tapes event going on. And we're very excited that we've got Burt Ward with us today on the air. And in addition to being the former Cape Crusader Robin and now current Cape Crusader with his brand new Blu-ray out Return of the Cape Crusaders, he's also Canine Crusader. Burt, tell us a little bit about Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions.
Well, thank you. For the last 22 years, my wife and I have rescued more than 15,500 dogs.
Wow.
Primarily giant breeds, Great Danes, St. Bernards, Irish Wolfhounds, Mastiffs, Greyhounds, every giant breed you can imagine. And now we're even rescuing some smaller breeds. But in the course of doing this, with the giant breeds, they particularly have a very short lifetime.
Right.
Usually of only 6 to 8 years or for Mastiffs and 7 to 9 years for Great Danes. And they're such sweet animals. In fact, the bigger they are, the more gentle they are, and that's why we call them Gentle Giants. But because we love them so much, we wanted to do everything we could to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And this actually applies to all dogs of all breeds and all ages. So we have spent the last 22 years developing a feeding and care program and a very special dog food that is different than any other food sold in the world. It's called Gentle Giants. And with our feeding and care program, we are now consistently having dogs living as long as 27 years. Healthy, active, not, people say, well, first of all, how could you get a dog to live 27 years? And if you did, they certainly couldn't be active. They'd probably be very sedate and not do anything. And it's just the opposite. I have one of my dogs turning 26, a Russian Wolfhound named Tara, on January 2nd, and she still jumps in the air and wrestles with her friend. But dogs don't have to live short lives. And for every one of your listeners out there who has a dog and would like to have their dog have a chance to live as long as our dogs are living, which is right now up to 27 years, then they really should check out our website at GentleGiantsRescue.com, and they should order some of our Gentle Giants dog food, which, although we're not in stores directly in St. Louis yet, they can get it on Walmart.com, on Amazon.com, and Chewy.com. And right now, I spoke to my wife this morning, and we currently, here at our rescue, we have many dogs. We have more than 50, but 24 of our dogs in our rescue right now are 15 to 26 years of age.
Wow.
Now, these are giants that only live 6 to 8 or 7 to 9 years. So every one of those 24 dogs has already lived twice its normal lifespan. And one of them has lived triple her normal lifespan.
And it's just like humans. If you eat the right stuff, if you take care of yourself, you're going to expand your own lifespan significantly. And so obviously the same applies to dogs.
Exactly. But in the case of dogs, let me tell you that one of the things that makes our food so different is it doesn't have all the fat that other dog foods have.
All the filler,
I
right.
tell people, all you have to do is look on your back of your bag of dog food, whatever you're feeding your dog. By federal law, there's a chart called guaranteed analysis. The first item is protein. The second is crude fat. What you're going to see with regular dog food is a fat content of 12 to 24% fat. I asked my own medical doctor, I said, what would happen if a human being, who's obviously much better designed than a dog because we live so much longer than dogs, what would happen if a human being ate even 12% crude fat at every meal? And he answered me that it would cut the lifespan in half.
Sure.
In half. So most people, when they feed their dogs, they don't realize that there's been a whole ton of fat put into that food, because you know what happens? The more fat content in dog food, the hungrier it makes dogs. Now, that's not by accident that fat content is in the food. And not only does it make them hungrier, okay, but it makes you buy more dog food. So you can see why there, could be room for unscrupulous dealings to try to sell more dog food. But in the case of our food, and also I ask people, feel your dog food. Go feel that. You're going to feel a greasy feeling to it. Why? Because after manufacturers put all this fat in the food to try to make dogs hungrier to sell more dog food, after that, the dogs smell it and they don't want to eat it. So how do you get dogs to eat fat-saturated food? After they make it, they spray it with lard. Lard is the white stuff you see on a steak the next day you would never eat.
Right.
And just like you would never think of taking bacon grease and pouring down your garbage disposal because it would clog it, why would anybody feed a dog a food that every single kibble is encapsulated in grease? So our food is low fat. We don't add any fat to it. We're not trying to sell more dog food. We're trying to keep them alive longer. And because we don't have all that fat in the food, we don't have to spray a ton of this lard and grease on the outside of it to get them to eat it. Our food is bone dry. And how it works when dogs eat Gentle Giants, it goes into their intestines and actually absorbs the grease that has accumulated from eating other dog foods. And then when your dog goes to the bathroom, it takes it out of your dog's body. In 4 to 5 weeks, most people write to us and call us or email us and say, I have a completely different dog. My dog is healthier than he's ever been. My older dog that has stopped running around and just lays in the grass all day is now running around like a puppy again. It changes lives. And so for those of your listeners that would like to have an extra 10 or more years with your dog, with your man's best friend, this is a solution, Gentle Giant.
And as a dog lover myself, I own a dog, and you want to give them the best. Anyone who has a dog is, of course, going to want to extend the life of that dog. And if you can't, maybe you can't adopt, or maybe you've got a special dietary need, you can still go to GentleGiantsRescue.com. And if nothing else, look at the videos, look at the pictures, make a tax-deductible donation, and help Burt Ward save a dog's life. We're going to take another quick
and
break.
Read how we feed and care for them also. We feed and care for dogs differently than other people. And it is a combination, not just our food, but combining a very special food with a very special technique of feeding and caring for dogs. And all of this together is what has produced, literally hundreds of dogs that have lived 2 and 3 times their normal lifespan, hundreds that we've had over the years, and probably 100,000 or more that are living out there an extra 5 or 10 or 15 years longer than they otherwise would have.
And that's something you always want, because I've always said a dog is a member of your family, and you want to give your family the best. You want to make sure they live a nice, long, healthy life. And so thank you for doing that for people.
And by the way, do you know why they say a dog is man's best friend?
Why is that?
Because he wags his tail instead of his tongue.
That's very true. My dog doesn't say a lot, but you can tell he's wagging that tail. He's happy. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with more from Burt Ward right after this, so stand by.
Hi, this is Tova Felcher from The Walking Dead. I play Deanna Monroe, and I'm happy to be on Geek To Me Radio.
And we are very happy to be joined by Mr. Burt Ward, the original Robin the Boy Wonder, talking all about his brand new, you can go out and get it today in stores, Blu-ray, DVD, digital HD copy of Return of the Caped Crusaders. He lends his voice talent along with Batman Adam West and Catwoman Julie Newmar. Thinking about the voiceover work, it must have been obviously different from actually performing the parts. What do you have a preference? I know you've done voiceover work, and you've obviously got an extensive appearances in movies and TV shows that you've kept doing. Do you find doing voiceover work more rewarding or more fun?
It's all different. I mean, it's really different sides of things. I love doing theater, too, which is live performances in front of audiences where there's no second takes,
Yes.
You better get it right in the first place or you're going to get yourself in a mess.
That's
so
right.
Everything involving entertainment and particularly comedy. I mean, I do drama, too, but, it's much harder to make someone laugh than it is to make them cry. So I enjoy comedy. I enjoy bringing happiness to people. And, whether it's a canine kid or a human kid, I love to entertain them.
Yeah, and that comes across, too, in your performances. You seem like you're just at home when you're entertaining people.
Well, yes, and I actually say, I've actually gone to the dogs, so a little of both.
And talking about your performing, I think you've kind of always had this, I guess, natural proclivity to it, because weren't you, like, ice skating at age 2? And
yeah, my father, I don't know why he made me go to work at age 2. I thought that was a little young, don't you?
We have child labor laws in this country. Come on.
Well, they didn't have them then.
Well, yeah.
At least I wasn't aware of them. But, yeah, I started at age 2. My father owned the largest traveling ice show. This was a predecessor of Ice Capades. And I skated around that arena in front of thousands of people by myself, which is pretty challenging when you're 2 years of age.
I'll bet. Yeah, I'm sure. We actually had a text come in on the Geek to Me text line. Joshua M. from Chesterfield says, yes, Burt Ward, you do sound the same as you did back then. So confirmation from Joshua M. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Joshua.
My producer, Joey V., said he remembers seeing you on Hollywood Squares. Joey, what were you saying about it?
Well, I love to just relax and watch the Game Show Network, and the vintage ones are my favorite. And the celebrities just seem like they're having more fun, match game password. And compared to the new stuff with the celebrities, it kind of seems, I don't know, kind of corny. Do you remember anything from being on Hollywood Squares, Burt, or any, fun things from that time?
At the moment, because everything is spontaneous, nothing is planned, nothing is, written out in advance, all kinds of funny things can happen. And actually I experienced something similar to that when I go out and make personal appearances with my dear friend Adam West, because often at the appearances, besides signing autographs and posing for photos and stuff, besides that, we do these panels,
yes,
where literally 5,000 and 10,000 people will crowd into an arena, and we'll talk, like 45 minutes and answer questions, and you wouldn't believe the questions you get. And Adam and I never rehearse, and we actually enjoy kind of teasing each other, which the audience notices right away. And as a result, they just love it. I mean, and so therefore, spontaneous things happen, and sometimes they can be hilariously funny.
So what can you share with us what your funniest Adam West story is?
Well, there's some pretty embarrassing ones from my dear friend Adam.
Okay, nothing too embarrassing.
But I'll tell you one that we actually did in production. Now, this is on the air.
Okay.
Where and Adam was good with his lines. He rarely made a mistake. But there was a scene in the third season with Batgirl, whom we had brought into the Batcave. We had give her a little knockout gas, a whiff of bat gas, and knocked her out and brought her into the Batcave. And then as we were leaving, we gave her another whiff of this knockout gas. And so the three of us are in the Batmobile with Batgirl in between Adam and I. And the line, I had a simple line like, gosh, Batman, Batgirl is really very beautiful. And Batman's line was something like, well, Robin, I'm glad you noticed. It shows you're growing up, or something like that. Very mundane, not much, just a quick little thing. Well, my dear friend, Adam West, when they were filming this scene, kept making a mistake. He would say that, sorry, I bobbled my line or this or that. And what happened was he did it through 13 takes. Now, you got to understand, we're on a time thing, you know? And you got 80 men on a crew. It's $30-some-odd thousand an hour back in 1966. Okay?
Right.
So this producer is saying, and director, I should say, is saying, you know, schedule, I'm never going to work here again if you don't get this right so we can move on. So Adam knew he had him just where he wanted him, meaning that they were going to have to take whatever he did to this. You understand? Oh, here we go, roll camera, you know, speed, which is they get the sound up to speed, and they say action. So I say, gosh, Batman, you know, Batgirl is really very beautiful. And he said, yes, Robin, I know. He says, it shows the oncoming thrust of manhood for you. Oh, my God. Tears came down the inside of my mask. I tried not to laugh, and they didn't even notice it. They were so panicking. But guess what? Next week we were called in, and the censors were saying, you can't say that on television. You know,
that'd be the great name of a show.
For that. But it was fun, and it was in that campy, double meaning, insinuation type of innuendo that we did on our show every week. And those are the kind of things that we did. We also played a lot of practical jokes on each other. I gave Adam a 50th birthday party when he was only 42 years of age. Embarrassed him terribly in front of a whole ton of people. But in any event, we had a lot of fun. We still have a lot of fun, and I adore Adam. He and I have always been very good friends. Not always do you have where the co-stars get along well, but he and I always got along well. We always had a great time together.
Yeah, you always hear stories about, especially nowadays, it seems like, oh, this coworker stormed off the set. So it is really great that you guys not only had that relationship, but that you maintained it for 50 years. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, and in fact, even when we were doing the series, and even though we were working terrible hours, sometimes on the weekends we'd go out and play tennis together. And we weren't in our costumes, but nevertheless, people waiting to get on the court would all of a sudden notice and say, oh, my God, that's Batman and Robin playing tennis. Oh, my gosh.
Way to give away your secret identity. They should have just said it's Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
Way to blow it.
we just sort of kind of ignored it, and but people were very thrilled to see us, and it was a lot of fun making Batman, and I think your listeners are going to love this new Batman movie. It is really cool.
I have no doubt. We are going to take a quick break. We'll come right back with our last segment, wrapping up with Burt Ward. So stand by. You're listening to Geek To Me Radio. Welcome back to our final segment on Geek To Me Radio. We had Twitter user STL Deadpool want to know, when is Burt Ward coming back to St. Louis?
Well, I don't know. It could be next year. We have people that arrange our tour schedule, and we do these giant Comic-Cons, and I'm sure that you have a terrific one in St. Louis there. So I don't know. I sure hope so, because I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. I know there's a couple coming through. We've got Geekonomic Con coming through, I think, in March, and then Wizard World back again in April or May, I believe. So yeah, I know lots of people enjoyed seeing you and Adam West come through last time. Maybe you could talk to Julie Newmar, convince her to come visit us as well.
I'm sure we could. I actually worked with her and Adam West and Leanne Merriweather, who played Catwoman in our Batman movie. I worked with all three of them this last weekend at this giant one in Los Angeles called Kamikaze.
Yes, so, that's huge.
Everybody had a great time, and everybody got lots of photos and got questions answered. We always have a good time. So maybe we can put that together.
That'd be so much fun. Yeah, because I know it's such these Comic Cons are huge business. Obviously, they've got all the memorabilia, and you've got all the celebrities like yourself coming through, and there's stuff for young people, there's stuff for old people, just so many things for people to see and do, that it would be a thrill to have you back.
I'd love to come.
And of course, if you are just now tuning in, we want to mention again Burt's organization, GentleGiantsRescue.com. Go on the website there. You can look at the pictures of all these. I've just got the cutest pictures of this little girl hugging a Saint Bernard on your website right here.
Right.
Just all the good stuff you do. Thank you so much. As a canine lover myself, thank you sincerely for all the work you do with dogs. It's just an amazing organization.
Well, we love dogs. We want every dog to live the longest, healthiest, happiest life. And for your listeners, I invite them to feed their dog Gentle Giants and give your dog an extra 5 or 10 years of a healthy life.
Exactly. And if anybody, like I said earlier, anybody who has a dog, they know dogs are a part of your family. They're not just a pet. And why wouldn't you do everything you can to extend the life of a family member?
Exactly.
And I know I had a devil of a time trying to find the Blu-ray edition of Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders with your voice talent, as I mentioned earlier, with Adam West and Julie Newmar. So if you're out there right now listening, you might want to pull into a Best Buy, pull into a Target, pull into a Walmart, try to grab a copy of that. I'm going to go home and watch my copy tonight after I get back from the Capes and Tapes event. I'm really looking forward to it. It's just when it was announced that you guys were doing it, it was very exciting news. And now that you're telling me William Shatner is going to be playing Two-Face in the next one, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, believe me, you're going to love this one. You're going to love that one. And there's so much requests because they're saying, well, let's do a movie from this, another movie, or let's do a live-action movie, or let's do a television series. There is just a huge hubbub because the reviews have been universally fantastic.
Everything I've seen, yes, absolutely. So we are wrapping up the show. Burt Ward, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. We can't wait to see what you do next, and sincerely, come back through St. Louis sometimes.
Wowie zowie, to the Batmobile.
Thank you very much. That's Burt Ward, ladies and gentlemen. I am James Enstall. We have been Geek To Me Radio. Thank you for listening.
It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek To Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek To Me Radio.
Thank you, St. Louis. Good night.